Are you feeling like you've lost your compliant and sweet child to an alien? The battle on chores, homework, and curfew seems to be so endless. But here's the truth. Your teenager is not just being difficult for no apparent reason, but there are a lot of psychological and even biological factors which are contributing to their behavior. I know as a mom or as a parent, it might be so overwhelming and you start questioning your form of parenting. But I'm here to tell you that you're not alone. And in this video, we're going to unpack some of the three major psychological concepts or principles which influence or govern the behavior of a teenager. Hi, my name is Cynthia. If you're new here, if you're a returning subscriber, welcome back. I'm a mom, I'm a wife, and a psychology graduate. And in today's video, we're going to unpack the three basic concepts of psychology which influence the behavior of your teenager. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Also share this video with a fellow mom or someone you feel that they may benefit from this video. Without wasting much of your time, let's dive right in. The first or key concept that we're going to talk about is the psychology behind the teenage brain. What is really going on in the mind or in the brain of your teenager? Let's talk about asynchronous brain development, or let's talk about the prefrontal cortex. Yes, I know these may seem very big words, but we're just talking of the portions of the brain, how they develop. When we are talking about the prefrontal cortex, we are talking about the CEO of the brain or the headquarters of the brain. This area mostly specializes in executive functions like planning, regulating emotions, and also anticipating consequences. It doesn't fully develop until one is in their mid-20s, around 23, 24, 25, depending to someone's biological system. Now that we've talked about the prefrontal cortex, now let's move to the limbic system. Stay with me, I'm going to show you the relationship between the prefrontal cortex and the limbic system. Now, the limbic system is where the amygdala is, right? And in the amygdala, it is responsible for secreting hormones which are associated with emotions, how someone feels, how someone reacts when they are happy, when they are sad, or when they're frightened. Now, what does this mean for your teenager? Your teenager has now a fully developed limbic system, but an underdeveloped prefrontal cortex, meaning to say that they are now experiencing all the emotion on overdrive just like an adult, but their prefrontal cortex is not yet developed to process all these emotions or put them into a meaningful state. So this is why you may see that your child or your teenager may portray impulsive behaviors. They may scream because of grounding. They throw tantrums like a toddler on issues that you may think that, you know what, I think now they can understand why I'm setting a curfew. Their reaction doesn't really synchronize with their behavior. Basically, we're saying they're wired for emotion and impulse before they're wired for logic and consequence. Now that you know this, how can you handle or approach this with caution? You have to prioritize connection over control. You don't need to control your teenager or to tell them what to do, but you need to establish a connection, because the only aspect that is fully developed in them is the emotional aspect, which is mainly handled by a connection or suited by a connection. It's based on the attachment theory. Your teenager is still basing every decision or everything that they want to express through attachment, but they are driven by the psychological need for autonomy. Their body or is firing to say that, you know, I'm growing up, I'm now approaching adulthood, but their mind is still too young or constricted for such actions. Your role now shifts from being a manager to a trusted advisor. Find at least 5 minutes that you can sit with them down or just have a little quick chat as they tell you about their day, as they show you or their world through their lenses without you interrupting. All you have to do is to be a listener at this moment. No need to judge them, even though they've made a bad decision. This is not the right moment to correct them. You just have to listen. And the other thing is handle conflict with curiosity. When they start yelling, don't yell back, but rather stay calm and ask them, what is it that is making you really angry? By so doing, you've de-escalated the altercation that you're having, and they'll be able now to explain how they are feeling, their emotions, and by so doing, you will know best how to help. Now, moving on to the next step, you have to foster confidence and scaffolding. The teenagers, they are screaming for competence, they are screaming for independence. But what you have to necessarily do is to provide scaffolding. If a place is under construction, or they're maybe painting or renovating a home, maybe probably you've seen these structures here. These are called scaffolds. What scaffolds do? They just, the building is already there, a structure is already erected, but what they do is they offer support only so that this structure doesn't fall down. And we call this the mastery of motivation. At this moment, that's when your child starts to have these out of the world dreams, and they tell you that I want to be a YouTuber, they tell you that I want to be a musician. They start to come with these absurd ideas, but now as a parent you have to nurture them. So we cannot talk about this concept without talking about Vygotsky's concept of ZDP. What do we mean by ZDP? Is a zone of proximal development. It's now a sweet spot where your teen is very or highly motivated, and they can actually accomplish anything, any dream that they have, but with just a push of their parent. That's the scaffold of their parent. Stop doing it for them. It is not bad to allow them to fail. Of course, not those big fails like something that will hurt them. Allow them to fail on the smaller things. For example, they want sport and they're also in academics, right? Let them have their own schedule and see if they're going to balance those two things. Now, when maybe they fail one of the subjects, you sit them down and let them see. Now, you see, most of your time you're spending it on sessioning or practicing for sport, and you're not giving enough attention also to your academics. And this is a fail. This is how you have failed. And now, how best can we improve on this next time? And at this age, you have to teach and hand over. You don't continue feeding them with information, but you want to see if what you're teaching them is really productive. For example, you may teach them to make a doctor's appointment for the first time, for the first month, the second month. Then on the third month, give them a task to say, can you make a doctor's appointment for themselves or even for you? By so doing, you're assessing either they are being competent now or they've now grasped the concept. If they make a mistake or they make a mix-up, now that's their learning curve, which they require. When you have a teenager in the home, give them meaningful responsibility. Stop treating them like kids or like babies. Put them on a roster. Maybe it's when you're cooking. Give them a day that they're going to prepare a meal for the whole family. Involve them in budgeting, the family budget. They need to know things about finances. By so doing, they won't bother you they won't bother you in buying them unnecessary stuff, because them being involved in finances, they really know what's going on, what to expect, and what also to exclude. And when you involve them in these huge decision making processes, they feel loved, they feel attached, and they feel competent, and they take up responsibility. And this reduces the degree of rebellion. Moving on to the last but not least concept, model emotional regulation. Like I have said at the beginning of the video, that even though they are now developing, they are still highly dependent on their guardian or their parent. You have to set a good example for emotional regulation, and you have to also teach them to voice out what's troubling them. Now, this is not the time for you to keep your emotions to yourself as a parent. You have to be as transparent as possible to your children or to your teenagers. For example, if you will go to work and you come back, you did not meet your deadlines and you're frustrated, rather than you just being quiet and throwing a fit or being moody, express your emotions by saying, God, I didn't meet this deadline and my supervisor is on my case at work. I don't even know how best I'm going to do about it, but let me go and sleep. And when I wake up, I'll sit on my computer and see if I'm going to come up with a strategy to be done by tomorrow. By so doing, you've shown them that it's okay to be emotional. You have to take responsibility of your actions. Now go and process your emotions and calm down. And after doing so, you come back and you face this task head on for achievement. As Albert Bandura said on the old social observation theory, our children, they learn through observing. They learn by seeing what we're doing, how we handle disputes in the home, how you relate to your friends and everything. They go out there and they exercise the very same things that you do inside the home. One of the basics that you can just use is to take time out. If an altercation or an argument escalates with your teenager, don't exchange words with them, because for starters, you and them, your level of maturity is way different. So you just have to take time out. You go outside, you calm down, or leave them just to calm down, and then come back later and discuss about their emotions, what they're feeling, and the consequences maybe of their actions, of if they had done something wrong. Yeah, this is not the time to shout, to scream, or even to show that you are superior or mightier than them, but you have to be a bigger person. Just excuse yourself or excuse them and come back later and discuss this issue. So basically, in teenage years, there will be more of talking, one-on-one engagement with your teenager. And after all this, and once you have surpassed this stage with these concepts, you fully applied them and they have worked for both of you, the parent and the teenager, you become best of friends, I tell you. And I know this aspect triggers a lot of parents, especially as the Gen Z kids, who had parents who would use a shambok or whatever. Apologizing, learn to apologize when you are wrong. By apologizing doesn't mean that you're spoiling your child or you're taking off your parenthood hat, but you're setting an example of taking responsibility of your actions when you're wrong. So by so doing, when your teenager also does something next time, they will also feel the need or the push to apologize to you, or even to anyone they have offended, because they have seen that even their parents, someone they think highly and mighty of, can also apologize to them. So as we conclude, as a take home, the teenage years are just temporary. Remember the core message that they are not trying to be bad, they are developing. So focus on connection over control, build competence with scaffolding, and model emotional regulation. These are the 3 basic concepts that we've talked about. Let me know what you think about this video. Leave the comments down below on how you are doing it as a parent to the teenager. Is this any advice that you can take or try to implement? And if you've tried some of these things, how did they work for you? Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share this video. Up until the next one. Bye.